The date is Tuesday, May 26. This is the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Jamaica has recorded its highest number of patients who have recovered from COVID-19 and have been discharged from isolation in a 24-hour period. As at Tuesday morning, the total recoveries increased by 27 and now stand at 238. In the meantime, 4 new samples have tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the island to 556. There is 1 critically ill patient, while Jamaica continues to monitor 309 active cases. Of the 2 new cases, 1 is a 25-year-old female from Kingston and St. Andrew, and the other a 22-year-old male from St. Anne. 1 is a contact of a confirmed case, and the other a case under investigation. A Norwegian cruise line vessel repatriating 174 Jamaican crew members has arrived at the Falmouth Pier in Trelawney. The ship is the first of 3 expected this week as the government allows Jamaicans to return home under its controlled re-entry program. Norwegian cruise line NCL docked in Falmouth on Monday evening to land 174 Jamaican crew members, while Carnival Cruise Line will also return home an additional 240 Jamaican crew members on Tuesday. And a Disney vessel is tentatively slated to berth on May 29 to disembark another batch of more than 400 crew members. Prime Minister Andrew Holness confirmed this in a release on Monday. The Norwegian arrived as the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line's Adventures of the Seas vessel, which repatriated over 1,000 Jamaicans, left the pier on Monday. So far, 12 of the Jamaicans who arrived on that vessel have tested positive for the new coronavirus. As the country starts to reboot its economy, most Jamaicans will be returning to work on June 1. Prime Minister Andrew Holness wants Jamaicans to act responsibly and follow the protocols that have been implemented to lessen the possibility of their contracting the novel coronavirus and minimize the spread of the virus. Speaking at a ceremony for the National Labour Day project at the St. William Grants Park in downtown Kingston on Monday, Mr. Holness said while companies were encouraged to have their employees work from home as part of COVID-19 safeguards, it's important for businesses to return to full capacity. Regarding the theme for Labour Day, Labour at Home, Clean Up, Fix Up, Plant Up, he reminded Jamaicans to prepare for the hurricane season and to start a backyard garden as the pandemic has shown the need for greater food security. Cleaning the statues of the nation's founding fathers, the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante and the Right Excellent Norman Manley, which are at the northern and southern ends of the park, constitutes this year's national project.
Both statues were declared national monuments. The statue of the Right Excellent Sir Alexander Bustamante was declared a national monument the 1st of January 2000, and the Right Excellent Norman Manley, his statue was declared a national monument on the 4th of July 2002. Both statues were sculpted by Alvin Marriott.
And what is significant about today as we come to this hallowed ground is that we should recall the fact that work, the task of the workers, really is the foundation of all human experience. And that our workers today represent the foundation of our productive capability, represent the heart of community life, and represent the substance, the foundation of our economic effort.
This is a ceremony to pay our respect, commemorate, and mark the efforts of our national heroes and those who struggled during the 1930s to ensure that we have the Jamaica that we have today and the hope and vision for a better Jamaica.
The private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, wants a clear plan of action for the safe and sustainable reopening of the Jamaican economy. The PSOJ says the time has come for further action, while noting it recognizes that Jamaica is not alone in grappling with the challenges faced in determining when and how to open its borders, and ongoing efforts to develop protocols for the island's tourism industry. It cited in a release the crippling effects of the COVID-19 crisis on tourism and other industries, surviving sectors such as agriculture, wholesale and distribution, manufacturing, and SMEs. PSOJ President Keith Duncan says the financial assistance provided through the government's CARE program, while appreciated, is merely a short-term fix, and it is now time for further action. The group also stressed the need to ensure that going forward, the safety of both tourism employees and visitors to the island are prioritized, and the country feels it's safe to reopen borders. The Consumer Affairs Commission has already started contacting persons who have been successful in their requests for compensation after being affected by bad gas as far back as 2015. Carol Francis gives us the details.
The state-owned Petrojam Ethanol Limited has paid over $24.5 million to the Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, as compensation for consumers who were affected by the bad gas saga in 2015. Chief Executive Officer at the CAC, Dulcie Allen, explained how the payment will be distributed.
We really don't want you to be standing up outside in the sun. So what we'll be doing, we'll be calling. We have actually started calling already. We'll be calling each person who had submitted a claim, and we're going to be telling you what the result of the claim was. So we'll contact you via phone, and those persons who have been approved, we will tell you that you need to come in. We'll give you a date as to when to come in, and we ask that you stick to the date as much as is possible. If it is you cannot make that date, then we can make other arrangements.
Mrs. Allen says valid identification and supporting documents, including banking information, will be needed.
1, your identification. 2, your TRN. And we will be asking you to sign an indemnity form. Now, this indemnity form discharges the Consumer Affairs Commission or Petrojam Ethanol of any further claims or liabilities concerning this particular issue.
According to the CAC boss, payment will be made Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. She urged consumers to continue to report complaints and learn about their rights. The call was repeated by Minister of State in the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture, and Fisheries, Floyd Green.
Consumers, your rights are valid, and they can and will be acted upon. So I say to consumers, make your reports. There are a number of people who complained and talked, some on the media, some in social media, but they never took the additional step to make a report with the CAC. Unless we get those reports, we cannot act upon your claims.
Minister Green applauded the efforts of the Commission to date in carrying out the mandate to protect the rights of consumers.
In fact, last year, the Consumer Affairs Commission was able to secure $24.5 million in compensation for consumers who have been wronged. And over the last 3 years, the Consumer Affairs Commission has been able to secure over $70 million in compensation for our consumers. In fact, we have an 85% complaint resolution ratio.
Both speakers were on hand at a recent digital press briefing held to signal the payment of the compensation, which, according to Mrs. Allen, is a sign of good faith by the government for the affected motorists, as neither Petrojam Ethanol Limited nor the government is liable for the incident. For the news on PBCJ, I'm Carol Francis.
The World Health Organization is warning that children are being put at risk due to the COVID-19 pandemic as regular vaccination numbers drop. Consequently, the organization published new guidance on implementing mass vaccination. WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus says at least 80 million children under 1 year old are at risk of diseases such as diphtheria, measles, and polio, as countries have shifted financial and health personnel focus to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Since the turn of the century, child mortality has been halved, in large part because of the power of safe and effective vaccination. However, we're here today to collectively reinforce the warning that COVID-19 threatens to undermine life-saving immunization services around the world. This risks putting tens of millions of children in rich and poor countries at risk of killer diseases like diphtheria, measles, and pneumonia. As the world comes together to develop a safe and effective vaccine for COVID-19, we must not forget the dozens of life-saving vaccines that already exist and must continue to reach children everywhere.
According to data collected by the World Health Organization, UNICEF, Gavi, and the Sabine Vaccine Institute, provision of routine immunization services in at least 68 countries have been affected.
Measles campaigns have been suspended in 27 countries, and polio vaccination campaigns put on hold in 38 countries. An additional 6,000 children could die every day from preventable causes over the next 6 months, as the pandemic continues to weaken health systems and disrupt routine services.
UNICEF's executive director, Henrietta Fore, says countries have suspended vaccination campaigns due to social distancing measures. Health sectors are overwhelmed by COVID-19 patients, and personnel are being redeployed to combat that challenge. Additionally, parents are not taking their children to vaccination centers in fear of exposure.
We cannot exchange one deadly outbreak for another. We cannot afford to lose decades of health gains that everyone has worked so hard to achieve. We need joint concerted efforts to put vaccinations back on track. And there are many ways we can do this. So first, countries need to intensify their efforts to track unvaccinated children so that the most vulnerable populations are vaccinated as soon as it becomes possible to do so.
Transport delays of vaccines are exacerbating the situation. Ms. Fore says governments must play their part in preventing further fallout.
But we need them for the emergency and critical supplies, and thus we've appealed to governments, private sector, airline industry, and others to free up freight space at an affordable cost for humanitarian supplies and life-saving vaccines.
The WHO notes that countries will need to make specific risk assessments based on the local dynamics of COVID-19 transmission and health system capacities. Former Mayor of Maypen and Jamaica Labour Party councillor for the Mineral Heights Division in Clarendon, Milton Brown, has died. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement on Twitter on Monday. His cause of death was not revealed. The Prime Minister described Mr. Brown as a committed, dedicated and passionate member of the party who served with sincerity. Time now for the business report.
In Monday's trading session, the JSE Combined Index declined by 2,161 points to close at under 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 82 stocks, of which 40 advanced, 32 declined, and 10 traded firm. The Junior Market Index advanced by 20 points to close at under 3,000 units. Stocks advanced for Access Financial Services Limited, Burita Investments, and Blue Power Group. Stocks declined for 138 Student Living Jamaica, 1834 Investments Limited, and AMG Packaging and Paper. Trading firm were Consolidated Bakers Jamaica, Epley Limited, and JMMB Group Limited. Wigton Wind Farm Limited ordinary shares was the volume leader with 9.9 million units, followed by Trans Jamaican Highway Limited with 4.5 million units, and Sagicor Select Funds Limited Financial with 1.3 million units. Now for the foreign exchange. The US dollar on Monday, May 25 ended trading at $145.31. The Canadian dollar sold for an average $104.38. The pound sterling traded for $175.30, and the euro ended trading at $159.89. Oil prices rose on Tuesday, supported by growing confidence that producers are following through on commitments to cut crude supplies, while fuel demand picks up with more cars back on the road as coronavirus lockdowns ease. Benchmark Brent crude futures gained 50 cents to settle at $36.03 a barrel. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed 86 cents to $34.11 a barrel. That's it for the business report on PBCJ. I'm Gabrielle Thompson.
In regional news, some churches that were declared to do so reopened over the last weekend across Bahamas. In this report from ZNS News, we catch up with one such group, the Zion Church in Matthewtown, Inagua.
It was back to the sanctuary yesterday for members of the Zion Baptist Church in Matthewtown, Inagua. That island was among those cleared for restricted worship with proper safety protocol measures in place. Senior Pastor Julian Lang says while their worship was not interrupted thanks to modern technology during the worst of the pandemic, he was happy to welcome his members back into the sanctuary.
It was a great time of celebration in the presence of God, and I could see the excitement on the faces of the members. We wanted everyone to feel welcome as they returned for the first time, so we put balloons and a welcome sign at the main entrance along with a sanitizing station. Sanitizer was also available inside the sanctuary, and the ushers did a wonderful job of ensuring that persons were seated 6 to 7 feet apart, and everyone was required to wear their mask. Our praise was in no way hindered by the changes. We had a marvelous time in Zion Inagua, and we are looking forward to more times together as a body. We are praying with faith for the healing and protection of our nation and the other nations of the world.
As countries in the region begin controlled re-entry of citizens, 6 nationals of Trinidad and Tobago were recently repatriated. We get the details in this TTT News report.
The return home for 6 nationals who came in on Saturday night from the Caribbean Princess was nothing short of bliss for the group. Leader of the Excite Band, Sterling Howell, said this morning it really hit that at last he is home.
It's only this morning when I woke up, hearing the birds and I'm whistling, it was like I reached for home, you know. So I called my fiancé and I said, baby, I hear birds, you know, like, so you know, sometimes you feel underestimate the little things in life. And just hearing the birds whistling was just an amazing feeling.
Mr. Howell says that they might have mixed emotions on preparing to come home, as some of their colleagues are still out there.
When the captain made the announcement that they're heading to Trinidad, I mean, we were all happy, and it was a whole entire emotions where we were, you know, we're happy and sad, yeah, you know, because we were fighting so much to win this battle, you know. And then, you know, we still have crew members who are friends who we left behind who are still trying to get home. So it was just an amazing feeling. And we felt like it was an amazing accomplishment that we made.
He said the quarantine period, which is being served in the UE campus in Davie, is not going to dampen their spirits, as being at home is still the main reward.
We have been in quarantine for almost 70 plus days on a cruise ship, so the 40 days right now is like nothing. I mean, we are willing to do whatever it takes just to be back home with our families and be back into bed. The facility is a beautiful place. It's not a 5-star hotel, but it's a very, very, very nice place. The nurses are nice. Everyone is treating us well, and we have no complaints.
53 more nationals will arrive tomorrow, Monday, May 25th. Minister of National Security, Stuart Young, continues to be engaged in discussions surrounding the entry of the remaining 300-plus nationals and the management and timing of their return. As with Mr. Howell, the nationals will be medically examined and assessed by public health officers and will be subject to state quarantine arrangements. Ian Wason, TTT News.
Over in Guyana, the new Port Ketuma Hospital has been officially opened. InfoHub's Delicia Haynes has that story.
The hospital complex stands at approximately $959 million, ready to deliver a wide range of healthcare services in a modern environment. Minister of Public Health, the Honorable Valdo Lawrence, noted that the realization of the long-awaited project emphasizes the government's vision to narrow existing gaps in the public healthcare sector.
In keeping with the vision of the Ministry of Public Health and His Excellency President David Granger, to ensure not only that there is a good life for all, but that there is a healthy life for each and every Guyanese. We want to eliminate those mitigating factors that will separate them from the quality of care that they receive. Everyone, everywhere in Guyana, must receive the same health care.
The Port Kaituma District Hospital is the only health facility in the region with a water filtration system and a wastewater treatment system. In addition, an internal medicine specialist and a pediatrician will be working out of the sub-district for the first time. Regional Health Officer Dr. Stephen Shifun outlined how the services of this hospital will benefit residents in Port Kaituma and by extension the sub-region.
No longer would you have to go to Mabaruma for X-ray services. That would be offered right here in Matakai sub-district. Before, we spent thousands of dollars to send people to Georgetown just for an X-ray. Fractures, we couldn't diagnose it properly here, but now we have an X-ray service for the first time.
The construction of this facility started in 2014 with the previous administration contracting the project to Arbasu and Sons and Calitech as the supervisory consultancy firm overseeing the project. The initial project was valued at $700 million. The project was abandoned due to many issues, including the fact that there was no clear vision of how it would be executed. For InfoHub, Delicia Haynes.
In sports, the Jamaica Football Coaches Association, JFCA, in response to crippling effects of the novel coronavirus, is playing its part to keep coaches on the ball. With coaches unable to take to the pitch to have physical educational sessions, the now revived JFCA has taken the business of teaching and learning to the virtual space through a series of webinars. Veteran women's football coach Xavier Gilbert, a vice president of the JFCA's steering committee, pointed out that the webinars are aimed at sharing knowledge, ideas and know-how among Jamaica's football coaches. And still on sports, president of the Jamaica Olympic Association, Christopher Samuda, has been appointed chairman of an interim committee, the Premier League of Jamaica Interim Committee, charged with developing for the National Premier League a viable framework for its governance, operations and commercialization, with a business plan as a critical element. Samuda says he is, quote, privileged to be a part of a good team which will go deep into the trenches in shaping and building a sustainable future for the National Premier League and the sport of football, end quote. The role of the committee involves a reviewing of existing governance, managerial and commercial structures in respect of which policy and operational recommendations will be made for their abandonment, reform or improvement. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.